The great chamber of the Galactic Council was alive with voices. Hundreds of alien leaders sat in a circle under a dome of shining crystal, their words echoing like thunder across the hall. Holoscreens floated in the air, broadcasting the meeting to billions of homes across the stars. Every planet in the galaxy was watching because this day was supposed to be history, the day Earth would finally bow. At the center of the chamber, a single human stood. Her name was Commander Alara. She wore no armor, no weapon, only a dark uniform that carried the seal of Earth. Her eyes, sharp and steady, looked around at the countless alien faces glaring down at her. The head speaker, a towering alien with pale skin and four glowing eyes, raised his voice. Humanity has resisted long enough. The treaty ensures peace. Sign it, and Earth will be protected under council law. Refuse, and you bring ruin upon your species. The words echoed, but Alara did not move. She let the silence grow heavy. Billions across the galaxy leaned closer to their screens, waiting to hear Earth's answer. The treaty was no promise of peace. It was a chain. The terms demanded Earth give up its fleets, its colonies, even its right to choose its own leaders. Humanity would become nothing more than servants in a council that never respected them. Alara's heart pounded, but her voice was calm when she finally spoke. Earth will not sign. The chamber fell silent. For a long moment, no one moved. Aliens stared at her, their eyes glowing, jaws tightening. Then, like a storm breaking, voices erupted. Some shouted in anger, some in disbelief. A few even laughed, the kind of laugh meant to crush hope. The head speaker slammed his staff against the floor. The crystal dome vibrated. You dare defy the council? No world has ever refused the treaty. Alara lifted her chin. Then let history remember that humanity was the first. Her words were carried by the hollow screens into every star system, every planet, every home. Billions of aliens saw her standing alone, refusing the power of the galaxy. The counselors shouted louder, demanding her arrest, her punishment, her destruction. Guards in silver armor stepped forward, ready to seize her. But Alara did not step back. She only met their glowing eyes with a human stare that did not break. You offer peace only in chains, she said, her voice steady. Humanity will not bow. We will not surrender our freedom for your safety. If war comes, so be it. For a second, the whole galaxy seemed to hold its breath. And then the uproar exploded. Council members screamed. Some slammed their fists on the table. Others whispered in fear. The broadcast reached every corner of the galaxy, and on thousands of worlds, citizens watched with shock. Some cheered, others felt dread. But one thing was certain. The stars had just shifted. Alara turned and walked toward the chamber doors. The guards hesitated. None dared to touch her. The image of one human standing against the galaxy's most powerful rulers was already too strong. If they arrested her now, they would make her a martyr. She passed through the massive doors as the shouting thundered behind her. Alone, she walked the endless hallways of the council station. But in her mind, she was not alone. She could already hear the voices of her people, the strength of Earth rising. Outside, the hollow screens replayed her words again and again. Earth will not sign. They became more than words. They became fire. On alien worlds, citizens whispered to each other. If humans could resist, why couldn't they? If Earth could stand against the council, maybe others could too. Alara reached the docking bay where her ship waited. The pilot, a young officer with fear in his eyes, asked in a trembling voice, Commander, what happens now? Alara paused, watching the stars through the glass of the hangar. The council would not forgive this. Their fleets would gather. Their armies would march. But she knew something the council did not. We don't wait for what happens, she said. We make it happen. Earth will stand no matter what comes. Her ship lifted off, carrying her back toward the blue and green planet that was now at the heart of the galaxy storm. In the council chamber, the chaos only grew. Some leaders demanded immediate war. Others begged to crush Earth before its defiance spread. But a few, in whispers, wondered if the humans had been underestimated all along. Across the galaxy, the message had already taken root. Humanity would not kneel, and their defiance would shake the stars. The news of Alara's refusal spread faster than light. Every comm station, every broadcast, every holo feed replayed the moment when she said, "Earth will not sign." Some called her reckless, some called her foolish, but many called her brave. And on Earth her words struck like thunder. Crowds filled the streets of New Geneva, the capital city. People gathered around massive screens, watching Alara's face, as she defied the entire Galactic Council. Some cheered, waving banners with Earth's crest. Others stood in silence, fear in their eyes, knowing war would come. But one truth could not be hidden. Humanity had been given a voice, and that voice had chosen defiance. In the chambers of Earth's government, arguments broke like storms. Leaders sat around long tables covered in glowing maps and reports. Generals warned of the Council's fleets, of their vast armies that stretched across 1,000 systems. Politicians argued for retreat, for apology, for survival at any cost. But then the President of Earth rose to speak. He was an old man, his voice steady despite the noise around him. Commander Alara spoke for us. She stood before the galaxy and chose freedom over chains. We cannot abandon her. If the Council demands our submission, then we will give them our answer, not with words, but with strength. Silence filled the chamber. One by one, heads nodded. For the first time in centuries, Earth's leaders stood united. That same night, deep beneath the oceans, hidden bunkers opened. Vast hangars glowed with blue light as long-forgotten warships rumbled back to life. Ships built in secret, shielded, from the eyes of the Council began to awaken. Old hulls were patched, new weapons installed, and engines roared as if the ships themselves were hungry for battle. In orbit above the planet, satellites turned their gaze toward the stars. Defense grids that had slept for decades powered up. Massive cannons locked into place, ready to fire on anything that crossed the edge of Sol, and in the shadows, a secret fleet drifted just beyond Earth's moon. Few knew of it. Giant carriers, armed with railguns so powerful they could split asteroids in half. They were called the Titan class. The Council thought they had been scrapped long ago. They were wrong. Alara returned to Earth's command base, her ship landing in the dark of night. The air smelled of rain as she stepped onto the landing pad. Soldiers stood at attention, their faces lit by floodlights. None spoke, but their eyes told her everything. They were ready. Inside the war room, maps of the Sol system floated above the table. Red markers showed Council fleets already gathering on the outer rim. They were moving faster than anyone expected. A young officer whispered, "They're coming." Alara looked at the glowing red lines that represented alien ships. Fleets of cruisers, destroyers, carriers, more powerful than anything Earth had fought before. The Council wanted to crush humanity before others could follow its example. If Earth resisted too long, rebellion could spread. She placed her hand on the map, her voice calm. "Let them come. We will not wait for them to strike. When they cross into Sol, we will show them humanity's true power." The generals exchanged uncertain glances. Many still feared what was coming. But something in Alara's eyes, something unshakable, gave them strength. Across Earth, preparations continued. Factories worked day and night, forging armor, weapons, and fuel cells. Colonies on Mars and Titan sent supplies. Families hugged their children, uncertain if they would survive the storm. Yet in every city there was the same whisper, "We stand with Alara." Far across the galaxy, alien citizens watched too. Some sneered, calling humans foolish. Others whispered in secret, amazed that a species so young could stand against the mighty Council. For the first time in centuries, cracks appeared in the galaxy's order. One night, Alara walked through the streets of New Geneva. The people recognized her immediately. Some bowed, some saluted, but most simply looked at her with quiet hope. Children pointed and whispered her name. She did not stop, but she felt the weight of their trust pressing against her shoulders. At the edge of the city, She looked up at the night sky. Thousands of stars glittered above, but she knew among them, Council fleets were already on their way. Somewhere out there, engines burned with the promise of war. She whispered to herself, "They think we are weak. They think we are divided. They will soon learn what it means when Earth stands together." And as if answering her, thunder rolled across the sky. The first of Earth's awakened warships rose through the clouds, its hull gleaming in the moonlight. People stopped in the streets, their eyes wide as the massive ship climbed higher and higher, engines burning bright. It was not just a ship. It was a symbol, a promise that Earth would not bow. The broadcast spread across the planet, images of humanity's fleet returning to life. Old warships reborn, new ones unveiled. People everywhere cheered. The fear in their eyes was replaced by fire, but on the far side of the galaxy, in the Council's dark chamber, alien leaders watched with unease. One of them hissed in anger. "They prepare for war. Humanity dares to challenge us." Another, older voice spoke softly. "They may be stronger than we thought." The stars themselves seemed to wait, holding their breath. War was coming. The galaxy would never be the same, and Earth had already chosen its stand. The Galactic Council had not been silent. From the moment Alara walked out of their chamber, their voices shook every star system. Official broadcasts declared humanity dangerous. They called Earth reckless, unstable, a threat to galactic harmony. But behind the polished speeches was only fear. The Council had ruled for thousands of years. Every species that joined them signed the treaty. No one had ever refused. But now a single human woman had stood against them, and worse, her people had rallied behind her. If Earth's defiance spread, their rule could crack like glass. In the Council's war chamber, alien leaders stood around a glowing table shaped like a star map. Red lines stretched across the galaxy, showing Council fleets moving toward Sol. Armadas of warships, sleek and deadly, filled with weapons strong enough to shatter moons. A scaled alien, his claws tapping against the table, snarled, "We cannot allow Earth to inspire rebellion. Crush them before others dare the same." Another, with a voice like wind through iron pipes, hissed, "Make them an example. Burn their world if you must." The head speaker leaned forward, his four eyes glowing cold. "Humanity will learn its place. If they want war, they shall have it." The command was given. Thousands of ships began their march. From the core systems, from the rim colonies, from forgotten outposts, the fleets gathered. The galaxy itself seemed to tremble under the weight of their engines. But even as warships assembled, something else was happening. On worlds far from the Council's watch, whispers spread. Citizens who had grown tired of Council taxes and endless laws leaned closer to their holoscreens. They replayed Alara's defiance, her voice steady, her eyes unbroken. For the first time, they saw a path different from fear. Back on Earth, the command room buzzed with reports. Red dots lit up the map, showing Council fleets moving fast. Sol would be surrounded in weeks. General Harrow, a tall man with gray at his temples, slammed his fist against the table. "They're coming with everything they've got, numbers we can't match." Alara stood across from him, her face calm, but her hands clenched behind her back. "Numbers are not everything. They do not know us. They do not know what humanity hides." The younger officers looked at her, fear and hope mixed in their eyes. They had heard the rumors of weapons never tested, ships never revealed, strategies that belonged only to humans. But would it be enough? News reached the colonies. On Mars, engineers worked without rest, building weapons that could pierce starship armor. On Titan, miners sent fuel cells in endless shipments. On Luna, hidden bases lit up, their cannons aligning with Earth's defense grid. Humanity was not running. Humanity was preparing. In the Council's propaganda broadcasts, alien anchors sneered. "The humans stand alone. Their fleets are nothing. Their courage is only foolishness. Soon their skies will burn." But on Earth streets, people only repeated one phrase: "We stand with Alara." Days passed. Tension thick as smoke. Families prepared shelters. Soldiers trained for war. Across every city, banners flew, not of surrender, but of defiance. One night, Alara stood on the balcony of Earth's command tower. The sky was clear, stars glittering sharp above. Somewhere out there, beyond the black fleets were closing in. She could almost feel the weight of their approach. A voice broke her thoughts. It was the president, standing beside her. His face was weary, lined with age, but his eyes burned with the same fire she carried. "They think they can scare us," he said quietly. "But fear has never chained humanity for long." Alara turned to him. "Then we must give them something greater than fear. We must give them a reason to remember our name." Below them, the city lights shimmered like rivers of gold. Above them, engines roared as another Titan-class warship rose from its cradle, cutting across the sky like a blade of steel. The Council fleets pressed closer. Reports arrived daily. Alien warships gathering at jump points, fleets merging into armadas, weapons primed. Entire sectors were ordered to blockade Earth, to starve humanity into surrender before the fighting even began. But Earth's leaders would not bend. In the council chamber, alien voices grew louder. Some demanded a quick strike. Others argued for patience. But none questioned the goal. Humanity had to be broken. And yet, for all their threats, there was unease. The council's spies brought back troubling whispers. Ships long thought destroyed were appearing again. Old human designs, but improved, faster, deadlier. The council dismissed the reports, calling them exaggerations. But in the quiet of the chamber, fear clawed at even the boldest leaders. Because deep down, they all remembered something. Humanity was not like the others. Humanity had survived, war after war, disaster after disaster. When other species bent, humans stood. When others fell silent, humans roared. And now, with the galaxy watching, humanity's roar was about to shake the stars. The warning came at dawn. From the edge of the Sol system, sensors lit up with thousands of red signals. The Council fleets had arrived. They came in numbers too large to count, armadas of cruisers, destroyers, and carriers that filled the darkness of space. Their engines burned bright like rivers of fire stretching across the void. Inside Earth's command center, the air was tense. Officers rushed between screens, relaying reports. The holographic map above the table glowed red with enemy formations. The galaxy's might had come to break a single world. General Harrow's voice was rough. "They're here." The room grew silent. Every eye turned to Alara. She stood at the head of the table, hands clasped behind her back, her eyes fixed on the glowing map. She felt the weight of the galaxy pressing down, but her voice was steady. "Then it is time," she said. "Let them see who we are." Across the Sol system, Earth's answer awoke. From behind the shadow of the moon, a massive shape emerged. It was the first Titan-class warship, larger than any alien vessel, its hull black as midnight, its engines glowing blue like suns. Then another appeared, and another. Soon the dark void was filled with them, blocking out the stars. The alien admirals watching from their flagships froze in disbelief. Their reports had spoken of old, broken ships, fleets too small to matter. But this was something else. Humanity had hidden its true power. On Earth's channels, the voice of Alara carried through every ship. "Today, they come to chain us. Today we show them that humanity bows to no one. Fire at will." The first railgun fired. A streak of light tore across the void faster than any alien eye could follow. It slammed into a council cruiser, ripping it apart in a single strike. The explosion lit up the darkness like a small sun. Then the fleet answered. Hundreds of railguns and plasma cannons fired together. The sky became a storm of fire and steel. Alien ships fell, their shields torn apart by weapons designed in secret, sharpened for this very moment. The Council fought back. Beams of energy cut across space, burning through smaller human ships. Entire squadrons were lost in seconds. The void filled with wreckage, with the bodies of those who had chosen to stand. But for every human ship destroyed, 2 alien ships fell. On the bridge of her flagship, Alara stood tall. Screens around her showed chaos, ships exploding, officers shouting, alarms screaming, but her eyes never left the battle. She knew this was more than survival. This was a message. "Hold the line," she commanded. "Do not let them break through." Human ships moved in strange formations, not the rigid lines the Council expected. They weaved, they adapted, they struck from angles alien fleets had never trained for. Humanity fought like predators, fast and unpredictable. On Mars, hidden launch bays opened. Swarms of drones rose into the sky, small but deadly, slipping past the Council's heavy guns to strike engines and weak points. On Titan, missile silos fired their payloads, long-range weapons screaming across the void, breaking enemy carriers apart. For the first time, the Council saw their fleets pushed back. A Council admiral slammed his claws against his console, his voice sharp with disbelief. "They're not supposed to have this power. They were supposed to be weak." Another Uar shouted, "If they win here, the whole galaxy will rise against us." But it was already too late. Broadcasts carried Alara's voice beyond the battlefield, across the galaxy itself. Her image appeared on alien worlds, her eyes steady, her words sharp. "This is humanity's answer. We do not kneel. We do not break. If you seek to chain us, then be ready to fall." Billions across the galaxy watched in silence. Some whispered in fear. Others felt their hearts pound with hope. On planets crushed under the Council's rule, children whispered her name. On worlds where rebellion had always been a dream, people began to believe it could be real. The battle raged for hours. Space itself seemed to tremble under the fury of weapons. Stars lit the battlefield with cold light, while fire from destroyed ships painted it in red. By the end of the day, the void was scattered with wreckage. Thousands of alien ships burned, their debris drifting like broken shadows. Humanity had taken heavy losses too, but the Council's advance had been stopped. The invincible armada had been broken. Inside her flagship, Alara stood in silence. Around her, officers cheered, some even wept. But she did not smile. She knew this was only the beginning. She looked out the window at the burning wreckage. Beyond it, the stars stretched endless and cold. "They thought we would kneel," she whispered. "Instead, we shook the stars." The battlefield was silent. Now, the fire of exploding ships had faded, leaving only drifting wreckage. Bodies, steel, and broken weapons floated through the void like ghosts. Humanity had held the line. Against the largest armada the Council had ever launched, Earth still stood, but victory carried a heavy weight. In Earth's command center, officers read casualty lists. Entire squadrons were gone. Families would mourn. Yet, despite the loss, a spark burned brighter than ever before. For the first time, humanity had faced the galaxy's greatest power and had not been broken. Commander Alara walked through the quiet halls of her flagship. Her steps were heavy, but her eyes remained sharp. Every soldier she passed stood straighter, some saluting, others simply whispering her name. She had become more than a commander. She was the symbol of Earth's defiance. In the Council's chamber, chaos reigned. Alien leaders shouted over one another, their pride wounded, their fear exposed. Reports of the battle could not be hidden. Billions had seen the mighty fleets fall. The Council demanded answers. Some called for even greater war. Others whispered of retreat. And in the cracks of their unity, fear spread. Across the galaxy, the whispers grew louder. On mining worlds where workers lived like slaves, people replayed the hollow footage of Alara's speech. On border colonies crushed by Council taxes, rebels painted Earth's crest on their walls. In secret meetings, leaders of smaller species began asking the same question. If humans can defy the Council, why not us? On Earth, people filled the streets of New Geneva once more. They cheered, they wept, they raised their voices in a single roar that carried across the planet. Soldiers returned home as heroes. Families lit candles for those who would never return. And everywhere, one phrase echoed like thunder. We stand with Ilara. In the command tower, Ilara met with Earth's leaders. Generals spoke of rebuilding, of preparing for the next wave. Politicians warned that the council would not stop. But when the room fell into silence, the president stood. His voice was tired, but strong. The galaxy has seen us. They know we will not bow. From this day on, Earth is not a servant. Earth is a power, and with that power comes a choice, to fight only for ourselves, or to fight for freedom across the stars. The room went quiet. Everyone turned to Ilara. She stepped forward, her voice calm but carrying the weight of every battle, every sacrifice. We did not fight only for Earth. We fought because no people should live in chains. If the Council wants to rule through fear, then humanity will stand as the answer. We will not conquer, but we will not let others be broken as they tried to break us. Our defiance has already shaken the stars. Now we decide what future those stars will hold. Her words spread far beyond the tower. Broadcasts carried them to colonies, to ships, to alien worlds. Billions listened. Some cried, some cheered, and on countless planets, seeds of rebellion took root. In hidden places across the galaxy, council governors reported uprisings. Soldiers refused orders. Citizens demanded freedom. The balance of power trembled. What had begun with one human refusal now threatened to burn across every star system. Ilara stood once more on her flagship's bridge. Through the wide glass, she saw the wreckage of the Council's fleet drifting against the endless night. Among the stars, humanity's warships moved like silent guardians, their engines glowing blue. A young officer approached her. His uniform was torn, his face weary, but his voice carried pride. "Commander, we held. The Council is afraid. The galaxy is watching. What happens next?" Ilara did not look at him. Her eyes stayed on the stars, her voice soft but strong. "What happens next depends on us. We can hide or we can rise. But one truth is certain. Humanity will never kneel again." She lifted her hand, pointing to the stars beyond the battlefield. "Out there are worlds waiting for freedom. Out there are voices waiting for hope. And if the Council thinks this is the end, they are wrong. This is only the beginning." The bridge grew quiet. Officers turned, their eyes shining, their hearts steady. They knew the road ahead would be hard, but they also knew something greater. Humanity had already changed the galaxy. As her words carried across every ship, across every broadcast, across every hidden rebel camp, the stars themselves seemed to burn brighter. The Council had wanted Earth to sign a treaty of chains. Instead, Earth had given them fire, and that fire now spread across the galaxy, unstoppable. Humanity's answer had been given, and it had shaken the stars.